Alright, time for the first match. We lost the die roll. This is kind of a close hand, but I think a bit too bad to keep. I mean, we have a Visions and a Cantrip and are on the draw, but it's just too reactive and shaky for how fast the format is. We might just die before we do anything. And double cryptic could easily be a mulligan or two. Same goes for terminate, so hand's just not great even if it gets there. So I want to mulligan this. This is kind of the same hand in slightly worse or equally bad. But I feel on 6 and with this cry we probably have to keep it. I think we just by this point kind of have to hope that the terminates are live, and if they are, we just need to find a black land, and then we're actually set up pretty well against matchups where terminate is relevant. So I think I'm gonna keep, even though I'm not very happy about it, but I think it should be better than mulligan to 5, or is it? Actually, no, I think we can afford to mulligan again on the draw with the scry maybe, since mulligan into something with 0 visions, for example, would be really great, and even depending on the matchup, mulligan into an ancestral vision goes a long way towards making this a game. Ah, damn, I misclicked. But we got rewarded with a swamp, so let's just hope the terminates are legit. That was my bad. I mean, it's a close call. There's also arguments to be made for keeping, but all in all, I guess mulligan is a bit safer. So we are playing against Zooicide, which makes our terminates live. That's good. And actually really good, because that deck is kind of light on creatures. You don't run that many high impact creatures, and having 2 terminates might run them out of threats, at least temporarily, and buy us enough time to get our Snapcaster terminates online. And by that point we might be able to just take over the game. So this might actually pan out really well. And he kept a no-lander with 3 cantrips and finally found his first land, which also really plays into our hand. Also, I think he didn't mulligan, so that makes his hand really greedy. Keeping a 0 lander on 7 is super ambitious. That's like a way worse keep than our first hand. Pretty much. There's our 3rd land. That's pretty good. And I think I'm just gonna terminate this in order to avoid any protection shenanigans. And he knows we have to terminate anyway, so there's no point in waiting. Sure, the Nakadal might stay a 1-1 because he clearly has no land in hand, but you never know. That's pretty good. Let's hope we draw a land. There is a land. That's good. So let's hope we don't die. I mean, if he has Mutagenic Growth, Battle Rage, we basically just die. And blocking with Snapcaster Mage won't help that. But he doesn't, that's good. Okay. That is convincing. And pretty much lethal. Impressive. Alright, he got us. I mean, would have been an option to Snapcaster end of turn, and then Snapcaster terminate and jump the other 2, but we don't even have the third blue to cast a cryptic, let alone a way to get rid of them. So dead is dead. Okay, so we want this and this, and I think that's all I really care about in this matchup. Got the vision because it's kinda slow. Cryptic is not great, but probably better than a vision. I guess one could also consider cutting Counter Squall. I actually think I cut Squall for Dispel, or do I just cut all the visions? Maybe like this. This matchup is just so fast, and Counter Squall has some uses, so yeah, I think I'll try it like that. Alright. That's a really nice hand in that matchup. I'm gonna play this first, so we don't have to take damage for black mana, and turn 1 explosives not that appealing here. But it's not unreasonable to at least think about it, given that they play Thoughtseize. And an explosives for 1 in play is really annoying for them. Since Undersea brought in something like Tarmogoyf, all of their creatures die to it. So you can usually only afford to have 1 creature out, which makes the game go a lot slower, which works in our favor. Also, aside from Thoughtseize, they have Gitaxian Probe, which at least lets them know we have it and play as if it was already in play, basically. So, our opponent is really taking his time. Gonna pause till he's back. Alright, our opponent is back. He doesn't know yet that we have explosives, so I think I'll leave it at that, because he didn't seem to have a probe at least. And we might get a 2-for-1 here if he has no way to check our hand. Or simply might have a chance to call against Commandos, which we don't, because he has a land to fetch the Sacred Foundry. But he could have had like another Verdant Catacombs, for example, or a Shock Duel that only makes that a 2-2. So there would have been a shot to potentially kill this. I think we're gonna let that slide and just explosive them both and hold to terminate for Death Shadow. Since if he would have had a Thoughtseize, he would have cast it pre-combat because of prowess. Maybe we even get lucky and he plays another creature. Well, we don't, but still good enough. Play it for 1. Just gonna pop it right away. Not sure if there's a reasonable chance for him to have anything that does something about it, but there's also no value in waiting, because he's simply gonna attack for 4 or 5 and make us pop it anyway. Now we are in a pretty solid spot, unless he does something like Thoughtseize into Death Shadow. That would potentially cause us problems. There's the Death Shadow. But without the Thoughtseize. So the question now is, what do we kill and how? I feel like trying to call against command this guy is just gonna be way too dangerous. He could have easily have like a mutagenic growth and completely blow us out here, and maybe even kill us on the backswing. So I think the safest thing is to just pass, terminate with Dispel back up, and then untap into call against command the Swift Spear. And if he really only attacks for 3, I might just take it and try to end of turn call against command. Alright, there is the instant pump, although this is likely something he drew off the top. So, not sure if he has another option, but rather not find out. Not bad. Good that we have call against command to kinda work through those. At least a bit. That card is awfully annoying for us, actually. Let's clear his hand of a couple of cards. This is a little risky because he might have a way to save this, but there's at least 2 damage coming from it next turn, so I think it's worth trying it in order to stabilize, because the tokens will cause us some problems. And if he saves it, he also loses his last hand card. So if he has like a mutagenic growth and a good card, he loses both rather than losing the Swift Spear and 1 card. So either way he loses 2 cards. So now we just basically need to find a way to not die to the tokens, and then we're fine. Which might be a kind of an issue, given that he has 4 and we have few good ways of dealing with it. But we have one other option, which is racing. And that might actually be the way to go, or to win actually, because I think we cannot really stabilize against the tokens, but we can actually raise him, because we have a way to protect it and a way to deal the last 2 damage. And he should probably not have a way to kill us from 10 down against a Dispel. So that's the way to go. I just hope he didn't bring in Lightning Helix for some really weird reason, and helixes us in response to us tapping out for call against command, because we actually have to tap out in order to try and kill him. Okay, so we need extra black source in order to cast both. almost forgot, would have not thought of checking and fetched a basic island and then realized we can't kill him. That would have been pretty embarrassing. So yeah, I think upkeep. Just go ahead and try and kill him. We got it. That's a nice thing against that deck. You can sometimes just raise them and win. I think given that he has Lingering Souls and that discard has some general utility, it's probably fine to bring it in. Then again, maybe just an anger might make more sense. Counter Squad is kind of decent, given that it counters Lingering Souls. Actually, I completely forgot to take out Spell Snare, which is pretty bad in this matchup. It basically only gets Battle Rage, which they might even take out, and maybe there are 1 or 2 Tarmogoyfs they bring in, so I think I'll just cut those and bring in these. They're still okay, they kill anything that isn't Death Shadow, so it's not terrible. It's not great either, but it's okay. This is probably not worth it, so I'll just stick with this. Alright, back with the game. I also noticed that Corey recommended to just cut the counter squalls for a Damnation and an Explosives in this matchup, but I am not sure about that. Like, I think I kind of like Dispel. I mean, I might be wrong. It's kind of a close call. I mean, it's not like Ancestral Vision is great in the matchup either. And Dispel at least stops stuff like them trying to combo kill you, become immense, mutagenic growth, Battle Rage, some removal that they might bring in for Tasigur. Just helps you in those tight turns where every mana counts, and yeah, not shabby for first turn. It's not looking so great for us right now, since the nation is pretty slow and we really would like to find a Terminate or Explosives, basically, to not get killed. He's also at 7, so we can't try and like bolt, Snapcaster bolt him. That is kinda good. Kind of has to take the bolt, because if I draw into a second bolt, he's just done. Gonna be an interesting game to maneuver. I mean, we are definitely on the losing end right now, but we might have a shot to like turn it around. He's thinking really hard on this one. It doesn't have much wiggle room. Interesting option for him also is to take Snapcaster to avoid me trying to buy a turn with jumping on turn 2. If he has the potential to lethal me on turn 3, which is not unreasonable. I mean, I'm gonna fetch a basic island and sword score, because I think I might have a reasonable shot of getting an extra turn by not fetching a shock duel. Because this turn we take 8, go to 12, fetch, go to 11, then fetch again, potentially go to 10, and then if he doesn't take bold, he can at best deal us 9, because if he would try to deal us 10, we can bolt him. So if he deals us 9, we go to 1 and would be dead. Ah, interesting, he took the sword score. That's quite an interesting choice. I mean, that's a bit annoying, but that also allows me to fetch this, which actually makes it easier to guarantee a damnation or bolt next turn. Okay, so he can basically not kill us, but we can actually kill him now. That is nice. I think we should have him. Because any attempt of him killing us is killing himself too. So yeah, the one extra turn from not fetching an untapped shock really mattered. That is unfortunate. But again, he can't kill us because he has to take the bolt. Then if he tries to lethal us, he can just jump block. And then buy another turn. It's a bit annoying if what he has is like a mutagenic cross or street race, so he can do it after blocks. Because then I have to decide if I wanna like block to make sure I don't get cheesed out, or not block and risk losing to an instant life loss. Because the problem is if I block, I have like no plan next turn. Whereas if I take the damage now, the point is if I go to 1, because he pumps it with like a street race, which is unlikely, already cast 3, would mean I'm basically locked out of my lands. I feel like the chances are better for us not blocking and hoping he doesn't have it, rather than blocking, because if we go to 3 and he doesn't have anything, then I can go to 2, next turn to 1, block, bolt his face, untap, command and win. Whereas if we block, we go to 10, block, stay at 10, go to 9, and then basically just die. next turn anyway, unless we draw something. So it's basically buying a draw step versus winning if he doesn't have it. And I think it's such a tough call because there's no reason why he would take out Mutagenic Growth, so he could easily have a Mutagenic Growth in hand. But does that really get us anywhere? Playing around Mutagenic Growth gives us like a random card. Yeah, I think no blocks gives us a better chance at winning. Nope, he has it. If only this would make blue, then we would go to 1, but then again, we would be double stone raid, so he got us. But yeah, that was a really interesting and very close game. And the Inquisition was just the right card for him. Not that this is a good habit or something we should do, but let's see how the game would have went if I would have decided to block. There's basically not a lot of cards that we want to draw there. Like we have 6 creatures that we can draw. 2 explosives and 3 terminates, I think, is the only cards that make us not die.